The United States cheated. Let's say it outright, the way the rest of the football world did on Monday night. The president made a call to FIFA. A red card against the host nation's top striker disappeared, and a rule that had stood unchanged for decades got bent for exactly one player. No other team in the tournament was getting that treatment. Only the co-hosts. And Belgium took it as a personal insult. They held a team meeting the moment the news broke, marched into the stadium with fans chanting FIFA Mafia, and walked onto the pitch determined to make a statement. 90 minutes later, they made it in the most humiliating fashion possible. 4-1. The favor amounted to nothing. The phone call amounted to nothing. The USA got exactly what it deserved, on home turf, in front of the entire planet. And a huge chunk of the football world stood up and cheered. But here's the part that should really infuriate you. That 4-1 wasn't even the most damning detail. Let's get into it. Quick setup, because you need the context to understand why the rest of the world was grinning on Monday. BaloGate, the USA's top scorer, was sent off in the previous round against Bosnia for a challenge many considered harshly judged. That carries an automatic one-match ban. No appeals. One of the most rigid rules in the sport. Then Donald Trump confirmed he'd personally phoned FIFA President Gianni Infantino to request a review. FIFA dug up an obscure clause it had never once applied at a World Cup and suspended the ban for a year. BaloGate was cleared to play against Belgium. Trump posted on Truth Social, thanking FIFA for correcting what he called a serious injustice. Belgium tried to appeal and were told they had no standing. FIFA ruled they weren't even a party with interest in a decision that directly shaped who they'd face. Read that twice. UEFA said the whole episode crossed a line. It wasn't only football voices objecting, either. Trump had also targeted the referee who issued the red card, Brazil's Rafael Claus, calling him suspect, which pushed the Brazilian Federation to publicly defend their official. Even a European commissioner weighed in, noting that sporting decisions are supposed to sit with sporting bodies, not politicians. The backlash was loud and global. So the stage was set. The host nation, with its president's fingerprints all over the lineup, its best attacker reinstated by special favor, walking out in front of a home crowd chasing its first quarterfinal in 24 years. And the supposed villain, the team everyone expected to accept the ruling and go quietly. Belgium arrived to chants of FIFA Mafia. Infantino himself watched from a suite. Then the match started, and the football didn't care about any phone call. 9 minutes in, Charles de Ketelaere slipped behind the American defense and tapped in an open net finish after the U.S. failed to clear a bouncing ball. 1-0, Belgium. The Americans clawed back. Malik Tillman equalized. And for a few minutes Lumen Field allowed itself to believe the comeback story was alive. Then de Ketelaere simply overpowered 38-year-old U.S. captain Tim Ream, outmuscling and outjumping him to head Belgium back in front, 2-1. Whatever momentum the equalizer had built died with that header. Then came the moment that turned a loss into a humiliation. U.S. goalkeeper Matt Freese rushed off his line to clear a long ball, reached it first, and then, inexplicably, hesitated mid-clearance. De Ketelaere pounced. The ball spilled to Hans van Aken, who rolled it into a completely empty net. A self-inflicted disaster. 3-1. And for good measure, Belgium brought on Romelu Lukaku, who added a fourth in the closing seconds. 4-1. In Seattle, on home soil, with a reinstated striker on the pitch the entire match and doing absolutely nothing. Here's the detail that makes this so satisfying, and it's easy to miss if you only glance at the score. Belgium coach Rudi Garcia didn't even need his strongest lineup to pull this off. He rested Lukaku and Jeremy Doku, only bringing them on once it was already 3-1, and he never used Kevin De Bruyne at all. He beat the favored host nation in a World Cup knockout match while keeping 3 of his best players in reserve. He built a game plan to frustrate the American press and made it look effortless. This wasn't a smash and grab. It was a statement, delivered with room to spare. Consider the message in that selection. He looked at a team gifted its star by a head of state and decided he could beat them with half his attacks sitting on the bench. He was right. The instant the final whistle blew, Belgium's official account posted a 2-word caption alongside the celebration: "Overturn this." Then Lukaku broke into a celebration that bore a suspicious resemblance to a certain president's signature dance move. They knew precisely what they were doing. Now, let's take this seriously for a moment, because the calmer angle is entertaining, but the real lesson underneath is sharper. The most damning fact of the whole saga is this. The cheating targeted the wrong problem entirely. All that lobbying, all those calls, all that political capital spent reinstating BaloGate went toward restoring an attacker to a team whose real, glaring weakness was its defense, and anyone paying attention knew it. The U.S. backline had been shaky for months, masked by favorable draws against opponents who couldn't exploit it. On Monday, against a team that could, it crumbled exactly as expected. Ream lost his aerial duel. Freeze handed them a goal. No disciplinary clause fixes an aging captain who can't win a header. And no presidential phone call has ever kept a ball out of the net. They moved mountains to fix the one thing that wasn't going to cost them the match and left completely untouched the thing that did. To be fair, and we try to be fair here, the Americans do have a legitimate grievance buried in this mess. The red card on BaloGate really was harsh. Pochettino wasn't wrong that the punishment outweighed a clumsy, unintentional foul, and he maintained his team weren't the villains of this story. Trump, for his part, insists he never instructed FIFA on what to do, only requested a review. Infantino maintains the ruling was made independently, that he simply informed the president the case would follow its normal process. You could almost believe that, if you squint hard enough. But here's the issue. Once you accept a favor no other team in the tournament could get, once your president is publicly calling the referee suspect and thanking FIFA for reversing an injustice, you forfeit any claim to victimhood. You don't get to rewrite the rulebook in your favor and then act stunned when the football world turns on you. That's not persecution. That's the bill coming due. And the bill was steep. Because the beauty of a 4-1 defeat is that it settles an argument no committee ever could. Had the USA scraped by 1-0, we'd be debating asterisks for the rest of the tournament, whether a favor had bought a quarterfinal. Instead, Belgium erased the debate outright, with pure football. Captain Yuri Tielemans admitted the squad held a meeting when the BaloGate news broke and agreed to let their performance speak. Midfielder Nicolas Raskin put it more bluntly. There's always justice somewhere in life. On Monday in Seattle, that justice wore red and scored 4 times. Goalkeeper Thibaut Courtois said his team had been shown a lack of respect and had just proven exactly who the better side was. And you could sense the edge in that, because in the days leading up to the match, the American mood had tipped into something close to arrogance, a sense that Belgium were now a mere formality. Courtois pointedly noted that people had predicted an easy U.S. win. On Monday, Belgium answered that with a scoreline that left zero room for debate. The reactions told the story of a world that had been waiting for exactly this. Neutral fans everywhere took open, unashamed joy in the American collapse, because it didn't feel like schadenfreude. It felt like balance being restored. Even one of Trump's fiercest family critics weighed in, remarking that he only wins by cheating. And there's a bitter irony sitting inside all of this for FIFA too. Infantino, who twisted his own organization into knots to accommodate the White House, spent Monday night watching that same favor detonate on live television, seated in his suite while the crowd outside chanted Mafia. His weak public defense, that is sometimes surprised by his own committee's rulings, convinced no one. He spent FIFA's credibility on a gift, and that gift got dismantled 4-1 right in front of him. Here's the strangest twist of all. FIFA might quietly be relieved it played out this way. Think about it. If the compromised host nation had gone on a long, glorious run, every match would have carried the taint. Every win an asterisk. The questions never ending. Instead, Belgium removed the problem entirely. All 3 co-hosts, USA, Mexico, and Canada, are now eliminated by the round of 16, and the tournament moves on, cleansed of its most uncomfortable storyline. The very result that humiliated the Americans is the one letting FIFA breathe easy. That's how badly this backfired. Even the people who rigged the bracket are relieved the team fell out of it. American players left the field in tears. A summer of genuine hope and belief ending in the ugliest way imaginable. That deserves a moment of sympathy, because most of those players had nothing to do with any of it. They didn't make the call. They simply had to carry the consequences in front of 80,000 fans and a global audience. Balogun himself, by every account, handled it with grace, even approaching Belgium's coach afterward, who told him directly it wasn't his fault. The players weren't the ones responsible, but they were the ones who paid the price. Belgium moves on to face Spain in Los Angeles on Friday for a spot in the semifinals, carrying not just a win but a point made emphatically. And the lesson they leave behind is one every kid who's ever played this game already understands instinctively. You can lobby, you can pull strings, you can phone the most powerful man in the sport and get the rulebook rewritten overnight, but you cannot phone in a clean sheet. You cannot lobby your way past a good team on a good night. Once the ball is rolling, none of it matters. Try to cheat the game, and sooner or later the game collects. It just did. If this result put a smile on your face, you've got plenty of company tonight. Drop your favorite overturn this reaction below, and stick around. The quarterfinals are about to heat up.